When Mortal Kombat 1 first dropped, there was one feature that instantly split the entire community. It wasn't the graphics, it wasn't the roster, it was the cameo system. And at first, it felt new, it was something different. And viewing the trailers, it was a little bit exciting. But now that it's been years since Mortal Kombat 1 came out and the hype has obviously settled, I feel like we could finally ask the real question. Was the cameo system actually a good idea? Or did it blatantly hurt Mortal Kombat more than it helped? But before we get into that, if you guys don't know me by now, I'm Mr. Frosty Flames, but you can call me Mike. We do anything gaming, news, reviews, playthroughs, etc. And we do it in a chill way with no over editing BS. So if you like that style of video, please be sure to hit that sub button and join the Mr. Frosty Flames Legion. We're closing in on 1700 subs, so I'd really appreciate it if you guys just hit that sub button and join the Legion. Anyways, back to the video. But before we start straight up hating on the cameo system, let's be fair first, because the cameo system wasn't random. It was in previous games before. It was in Mortal Kombat 11 in the Towers of Time, where you could call in your assist fighters to, extend your combos or do stuff with that. It was very experimental in Mortal Kombat 11 though. But NetherRealm Studios clearly had a goal with the cameo system here in Mortal Kombat 1. It sort of was supposed to add more strategy to the game, make the gameplay feel fresh, and give players more combo routes. And on top of that, it brings back a lot of legacy characters without putting them on the main roster. And I'm sure on paper that sounds really great to them. It's basically like a light assist system, something closer to how the anime fighters are, something that could make Mortal Kombat feel deeper. And for a lot of people at launch, it actually worked. Now let's not pretend that this system was truly all bad, because it did some things really well. For starters, it allowed a lot of combo creativity. Cameos allowed, extended combos, you had new routes and creative setups. Players were doing things we have never seen before in MK. And for lab players, like people playing in the lab and experimenting, the system was a dream for them. Another thing is it allowed for roster variety. Instead of cutting characters completely, they could still show up as cameos. This meant, more fan service characters, more representation, and more variety without bloating the roster. Of course, there are characters like, say, Kano, Sonya, Jax that probably should have been in the main game and actually had roles in the story, but at least we got them somewhat as cameos. But a good thing is they added more of the joke characters and they could come back. Characters like Shujinko, Farah, Darius, Madame Bo, Mavado, characters that we really haven't seen much of, but they could somehow bring them back to the modern era in their own ways, which is the cameo system. And then at first glance, you had accessibility, because for newer players, having an assist mid-fight kind of felt helpful. It's like, okay, I could rely on this to get something started. So at a surface level, it felt like a system that could help both casuals and advanced players. But this is where things started to get complicated, because over time, the same system that added depth to the game started creating tons of problems. And perhaps the biggest one is it changed the core feel of Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat has always been, a 1v1, grounded, character-focused combat, but cameos, it sort of shifted that, because now it feels like you're managing two characters, you sort of rely on assists and play around cooldowns, and for a lot of players, that didn't feel like Mortal Kombat anymore. It became sort of like a crutch to players, because instead of how good are you with your character, it became how strong is your cameo combination, and that's a big difference, because now the focus wasn't just skill, it was synergy. Not everyone liked that shift, and if you watch competitive Mortal Kombat, especially nowadays in competitive MK1, it's like the same meta just dominate the game. It's like, what, they had Homelander, Farah, Havoc, Farah, whoever, Havoc, who else, right? Because it was just like BS, that was just broken. You had the unblockables with that, where the cameo would help you set up your overhead lows at the same time. It was crazy and just led to a lot of balance issues, which was another thing, because let's be real, some cameos were just better, and when that happens in a system like this, the meta kind of shrinks. You start seeing things like the same combinations over and over again, the same strategies over and over and over again, less variety than expected, which is ironic, because this was the system that was supposed to create more variety, but now it's just less variety with the same characters over and over and over being played again because they're just top tier. And this is what the community started saying, because this is where things start getting interesting. Because if you look at discussions over time, you start seeing patterns, because some players say, you know, this adds depth, you just have to learn it, while other players say, you know, this doesn't feel like MK anymore. And then there was a third group. There was the group that really didn't hate it but didn't love it either. They just felt like it was fine, but I'd rather have something else. And that something else kept coming up over and over and over again, because that was me. I thought that the cameo system was okay, but I'd rather go back to the 1v1, but I just didn't hate it. And I feel like if you compare that to Mortal Kombat 9, that had something a lot of people still talk about today, and that was the tag team gameplay. And here's the difference. Tag mode felt like it was 2 full characters with real switching and deeper team strategy, something like Marvel vs. Capcom, whereas cameos feel like a support tool. It's not really a full system. It feels like you have limited interaction with that second character that you're choosing. So instead of going all in on a tag system, MK1 sort of just went halfway, and that's what frustrated a lot of people that love the tag system in MK9, because it felt like, you know, this could have been bigger, but it wasn't. And with that all in mind, was it a success or a failure? This is the real question, because honestly, I feel like it's somewhere in the middle, because you could view it as a success if you view it as it trying something new, adding a little bit more depth into the game, or making MK1 feel different. But in general, I feel like it was just a failure. It didn't fully commit to its idea. It changed the identity too much for some players, and it didn't satisfy either side completely. Like, going into it, it was cool, you know, viewing the trailers, seeing the characters pop out and doing moves, especially, you know, in the first like couple months of the game. Everyone was figuring out the combinations, who was meta, who was not. You see like crazy like Reiko Darius, you know, cool combinations. But then now when the game is like, what, a couple years old, you're just seeing the same characters over and over, and it just sucks, because man, this really does feel like something that should have stayed in Towers of Time, like how it was in MK11, not added into the full game. I know a lot of players would disagree with me, but I feel like a lot of players also would agree with me. It wasn't a totally bad system, but it also wasn't what MK needed long term. And with MK, and like what we said in my other videos, they need to commit to something long term, a feature or something to make MK unique, but make it long term, like make it bounce from game to game, not just change up the whole game every single time. Because like I say in other videos, the jump from every Mortal Kombat game feels completely different. Like if you play MKX, the fast paced game jumping to MK11, the slow paced game jumping to MK1, which sort of was in the middle, it's different. If Mortal Kombat wants to move forward, I feel like Mortal Kombat 13 needs to make a choice. And in my opinion, regarding the cameo system alone, it should not return as a core mechanic, because MK works best when it's focused, grounded, and just 1v1 or 2v2, however you want to say, character versus character. Full character versus full character. That's its identity. And for whatever reason, if Ed Boon and NetherRealm decide to bring back cameos for the next Mortal Kombat game or whatever, it needs some serious changes. First of all, make cameos less dominant, because the impact it has on neutral is so big. You need to reduce that. Limit combo extensions and make them more situational. Increase variety and make them better integrated into the game. And the biggest one of them all, if they do decide to bring them back, please just make it a separate mode, like a tag mode or assist mode or a casual mode, or just whatever mode that they have, and don't make that the core mechanic. Instead of being forced into the core gameplay, just put it in a different mode. I don't think it's a total bad idea. It's not just what Mortal Kombat is at its core, and that's the big difference. Because looking back now, it feels like an experiment that, you know, they seen it in MK11, they tried to put it in MK1, and then they thought it had potential, but it didn't really fully land. And moving forward, Mortal Kombat doesn't need to keep experimenting just to be different. It just needs to understand what made it work in the first place and build on that, like MKX and MK9 did that perfectly. If you've been playing Mortal Kombat 1, I'm curious. Do you think the cameo system made the game better, or would you rather go back to something like the MK9's tag system? Just let me know, because I'm really wondering who's still playing MK1 and enjoying the cameo system. But if you've been rocking with these videos, I appreciate you lots. That's just my take on the whole cameo system. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. If you like this video, make sure you like, subscribe, share, do all that stuff, yada yada yada. Thank you all for watching. Mr. Frosty Flames out. Ciao.